Good day and welcome to this special edition of the Evening Review, where we highlight the highlights of the show this week. We start with Job Ampanda, the UNAM academic and also activist in chief of the affirmative repositioning movement, who says that the state must be led by people with qualifications. He also confirmed on the show on Monday that he is still interested and, in fact, in the running for the position of president.
Can the future of society, can the future of the state be left in the hands of untrained people? That's why Plato called them philosopher kings and queens. So he wanted to have men and women whose preoccupation is governance. They must be trained on governance and other aspects of societies. But of course, he didn't get it right. But this conversation about, and it's a conversation that I'm very serious about, even at the level of local authorities, where if you do a study, there's probably about maybe 300 or 400 regional and local authority councillors put together, or maybe that's the total number of politicians in our country. You might actually discover that you remember there are no basic skills. So you will have a person.
Do you want to hold that view for me? Just talk for a quick break and then we continue. We will go for a quick break and then return with Professor Ampanda. We are back with Job Ampanda, Professor Job Ampanda. So, yeah, you were making a point, but I want to accelerate you to something else.
Yes. While we're coming there, it's also to say that, it is unfair to a society, to any country, and to a people, for a person of average understanding to be, for example, in charge of a $5 billion budget. When they don't have those basics. We can't lead a society like that. It doesn't mean that everyone who doesn't have that qualification, we must be obsessed about qualification. That's why I'm saying, even in African traditional society, there are conditions. That's why I'm saying Ankara Wandiru, for example, he doesn't need a PhD, he doesn't need to be a professor, but we are for centuries, for hundreds and hundreds of years, Ankara and his great-grandfather, because this craft analogy, this skill set, it comes from their great-grandparents, and it continues like the traditional healers and everybody. We have always been a society that values skill set, even as Africans.
So where does that leave a person like Jacob Zuma?
Yes, that's why we are basically trying to explain that when you look at the aspects such as Jacob Zuma, it must be explained. How do you explain it? How do you explain? Jacob Zuma have always been the antithesis of liberal institutionalism. Like, this is a guy very fascinating politicians, actually. I don't think South Africans have done enough. They just got very angry. They never say, this is a guy who goes publicly and he says, no, he had unprotected sex with a woman and he took a shower. And some innovative marketing guys were saying, no, the soap that Jacob Zuma apparently used was Protex. And these marketing guys were buying a lot of Protex soaps. So you have to have a holistic understanding of a society in order for you to be able to explain those phenomena. So what I'm simply saying is that it is ahistorical to argue that anybody can do anything. It never happened in an African traditional society, and certainly cannot be defended in the modern society. So even with politics, we must interrogate ourselves. Are we going to put the lives of our children in the hands of people who of low or no or average understanding, right? So for example, in our country, our government has implemented free primary education. Free. And they went a step further and implemented free secondary education. What excuse would anybody wanting to lead anyone with grade 8 when they didn't have to pay anything for 12 years, when the state spent a lot of money for their education? And I know generally when you argue like these people, they say, yeah, you are alienating people. Generally how I operate, I don't necessarily operate to seek approval for my views intellectually, because when you are bringing
So
about...
Jobampanda will return the school development fees if elected president?
Oh, well, returning the school development fees? No. Definitely they would. Education is a public good. I believe education is a public good. And it must be free and compulsory from the first grade to first degree at university. Now, if you want to do your master's and PhD, you can pay for yourself. But we must be able to cater for that from first grade to that. Because I think not only are we talking about a craft analogy, we must be a society with basic requirements.
Yeah.
Even in our families, when we have weddings and funeral, we don't give the responsibility of collecting money to some guy that doesn't have integrity. We don't. Yeah, that's why we're not even talking about education. Is that there is no society without minimum requirement. That guy who likes to drink up money, no one will ever give them a responsibility. Families have made those mistakes. In our village, for example, the whole of Amarala, we've removed these things called Ompitoye Guruka, these open chains, because that's where it creates a lot of problems. Some guy just walk from nowhere during that, and then he say, "No, we used to be corrupt with Toy Von Jebera," and then it spoiled the entire. But so in other words, there must be standards everywhere.
I agree.
Yes,
I agree totally. In the interest of time, Doc, you are still harboring ambitions to lead this country as president?
I'm not.
Is that still on, or you have now gone the academic route only?
Well, I'm not harboring ambition. I'm preparing to take over the country, and we think that is a very important exercise. And the beautiful thing with what we are doing is that we must always inspire the young men and women with talent and energy, even at the level of contest. Yeah. So when we announce to the people of Namibia that we will be participating in the context, it was a very inspirational thing to do, because then they begin to say that, oh, so I can do it. And then you see quite a number of people also started pronouncing the same. And we must lead society. You don't need to get to the position in order to lead. You must already demonstrate leading. If it was up to me, I would have also said that you can't be sitting in your sitting room and wake up in election year and you tell people that you want to lead them, and the whole time you're only leading your cats and dogs at your house. So we're definitely participating. And I must also just explain is that it is not just me preparing to lead the country as president, but it's also we are planning to bring many young men. That institution called parliament is very problematic. And it's partly very problematic because of this one-party dominance type of things. And that's why you have foreigners can dictate 16 bills and then they are passed. You have MPs now who are saying, no, they were misled by the finance minister on FEMA, but they passed it, you know. It's because it's a sleeping parliament, it's an incompetent parliament. It is a mere source of a bureaucracy. In other words, people get to parliament in order to be ministers and not necessarily for them to set out and say, I'm getting to that parliament to go and change things. So there is quite a number of young professionals, young activists whom we are also taking to that parliament. So we're not participating only presidentially, but we also need, because you can't be, our constitution says that you must take your cabinet from parliament, from the National Assembly, and also the National Council, but parliament in total. But sometimes we think that what does from means, do they cease to be members? But the point is that if you are a serious contender, a serious candidate, you cannot just be concerned about you as president. You must also be concerned about that legislative institution called parliament. So we also equally have our eyes set on parliament to make sure that competent, fearless, and young men and women of integrity also get to that parliament.
The Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, in collaboration with the Namibia Tourism Board and the Ondonga Traditional Authority, will be hosting the Itotha Carnival at the Kangonde Salt Pan in the Oshikoto region from 27 June to 1st July 2024. Expect a fun-filled weekend including traditional dishes, cookout competitions, totem parades, traditional games, horse riding, skydiving and quad biking. Accommodation facilities will be available at cost. The Itotha Carnival, celebrating our ancient heritage.
Welcome back. Now, also on the show this week, we had Sean Gariseb. He's a representative of concerned residents of Katutura, who this week held a press conference at which they denounced the conduct of their councillors regarding the ongoing delimitation and boundary demarcation exercise that is currently happening. The residents held a press conference and they are saying that they were not consulted properly regarding the contemplated changes to the boundaries of their constituencies. Here is what Mr. Gariseb had to say.
Press conference that we had yesterday in Katutura, Dolam at the playground was about what transpired when the Delimitations Commission was supposed to have a consultation at the Commerce Region Hall. That was the previous week, Friday, the 13th of June. Maybe for the purpose of context and understanding, I must just clarify that when the consultation was supposed to be held, we attended that consultation, and in attendance was also the 10 councillors of the 10 various constituencies in Commerce Region. So the commission was there, and then the governor was also in attendance. What then happened was that what we were under the impression that these consultations were supposed to take place in the communities. That was our understanding, but that was not the case. So we converged there. Most of us were probably from Katutura Central East, and also from Tobias Henyoko and Samora Machel and what is the other constituency? Moses Garowe. I think those were the people that were mostly in attendance, but the most of the people in attendance were just officials. So what I then picked up prior to that day was that I picked up that there was a map drawn. There was a map drawn that reflects the boundaries of Commerce Region. Yeah. So when we went there, I had this reservation about this map. I did not know that there was also a proposal. So after protocol was established, I wanted to understand the clarity, understand the meaning of that map. So I intervened, and when in intervening, I was told by the director of ceremonies, which was the CRO of the Commerce Region. He said that he's going to give me a chance after the tea break. And after the tea break, I stood up again, and I was told that I should sit because the time is limited and the governor has to make a presentation. And the governor's presentation was exactly what I had concerns about, or the concerns I wanted to raise. But he said, mine is a submission. I said, no, it's not a submission, it's a principal concern that I have. And then the governor made her presentation, and everybody in the room was shocked because the presentation and the proposal, I have it here, I share a document with you, was such that it appeared it was after consultations. And she made a representation of a map. I had the map. Unfortunately, that one map that I took it in Katutura East when there was a consultation on the 11th hour. There were 31 people. So there was a copy of a map shared by that councillor. We used our Katutura manners to disappear like a ghost with that map. So I was having the privilege of having that copy. I made many copies and I gave to people yesterday at the press conference. So what then after that, quickly, what transpired was that I was given a chance by the chairperson. Chairperson said that I had raised an arm earlier, and then I stood up and I raised my reservations. I asked, why is the city of Windhoek not in attendance if the boundaries have been extended? Why were we never consulted? Where are the annexures and the supporting documents that have been spoken about in this submission? Then the chairperson allowed the councillors to speak. 3/4 councillors spoke. All of them spoke something totally different to what is here. When asked about consultations, for example, people that are presiding over 92,000 people only consulted 10 people. People presiding over 67,000 people only consulted 6 to 8 people or 60 people. So those concerns, the chairperson then halted the whole proceedings. And it's against that background. Even our traditional authority was not consulted. They were in attendance. They were not acknowledged. The apology was not extended to them. It's against that background that we had yesterday's press conference.
Wonderful. What specific issues in this delimitation report are unsettling to you?
Yeah, first and foremost, this delimitation Commission's provision is a constitutional provision, and it should be respected as such. And it's very clear that consultations are a important factor of that. This delimitation commission only sits once in 10 years, which means should things be done, should boundaries being expanded or reduced, it will have effect for the next 10 years, if not forever. Now, my and our concern here was, because I was not the only one in attendance. There were people from the traditional authority was there. There were people that are concerned are there. If one looks at this document, you can see expansions that were proposed. They go to they expand until regional borders, until the regional border, which means as a Tomani myself, Tomani settlements in Thomas region are affected. And as we know, Tomani people have been subjected to a systematic exclusion and a deliberate effort to displace them. This displacement has been an issue since after independence as to why the Tomani people must constantly be there. And by the way, they also have these concerns already with the president and with other stakeholders that have to do with these issues. Now, for them not to be consulted, that is a very serious issue that we don't take lightly.
Voting now open. The Best of 061 Express Followers' Choice Awards. By voting, you stand a chance to win your share of 50,000 Namibian dollars in cash. From the 4th to the 23rd of June 2024. Do you know the best of the best in Windhoek? It's time to recognize them. Living in Windhoek, DIY home improvement. Glam it up, eating out, food, drinks, and be merry. Services, automotive, shopping, babies and kids, and travel and leisure. To vote, save the number 085 785 6231 and WhatsApp. Hashtag 061 Express or scan the QR code.
And finally, on the show also this week, we had the Commerce Regional Council responding to Mr. Sean Gariseb, saying that some of the things that he said on the show were misleading, and we therefore had Clement Mafwila, who is the Chief Regional Officer of Commerce Region, stating what exactly transpired regarding the delimitation exercise and why this exercise, the consultations, had to be postponed to next week, Thursday, regarding or because of the concerns of Katutura residents. Here is what Mr. Mafwila had to say.
We adopted a strategy of wait and see.
Yeah.
After the meeting, and then we started seeing some reaction, as you put it, from the media, elsewhere they made their expression. Not only that, those expressions were made during the conference.
Yeah.
And then we saw some...
What conference was that?
Not the conference, the consultation.
Okay, so so there was a consultative
The
meeting.
one of the boundary.
Okay.
Delimitation, that consultation.
Oh yeah, yes.
Yes. And then we also knew before that there were some clips that were circulating, especially about now the maps.
Yes.
Yes. So we did not react that time, because we believe that now they must first wait and see what we are going to present, and then we can be able to come in. And then after that, what we did were more giving press release. Press release in terms of the media, and we're focusing more on a positive note.
Yeah.
Where we said we mentioned that now the consultation has been postponed, and equally also when we got the new date, the 27th of June, we communicated, and our emphasis was more to say we encourage all key stakeholders and the public to attend consultative meeting in the constituency.
Yeah.
That is the only way they can make their voice to be heard in terms of the subject matter. Yes.
So very good. So it is said that at that consultation meeting that the governor, this document here by Honorable Laura McLeod-Kashirwa, the Governor of Commerce, titled Proposed Boundaries delimitation and demarcations of the commerce constituencies boundaries, as if to say that council, the regional council, went there already with its own proposals that this region must be extended to this one, the new boundaries must come here. Where did council draw that mandate? Or is it out of certain consultations, or that was just out of council's own initiative?
Yes, thank you very much. In fact, that is the board of contention.
Yeah.
And then we need to clarify that. Perhaps, Jamila, allow me to start that as soon as we received that notification that there will be an exercise of that nature,
Yeah.
what we did, because we understand what consultation is all about, we send out invites, both the media and physically, some certain letter that we send, where we called upon the public, because it was requested of us that we will make input through writing reports or even oral. And then now we said for the public, the constituency councillors have to go down and consult.
Yeah.
And then also we went out of our way to send invite to certain key stakeholders. For example, we send an invite to the city of Windhoek and the traditional authority. Because when you deal with intergovernmental relationship, jurisdiction becomes a key element.
Yes.
Yes. So with that in mind, we should mention that the councillors went, consulted, and we made sure that we need to prove that we have consulted. There were minutes that were written, and also the attendance register. That was now the letter that the governor circulated, sent to them. Please do this so that we must prove that we have consulted. That happened. And then when that one happened, is when now we came just to consolidate, because we said, your submission in writing, please, address it to the governor, so that we can just put something together, and then present as a regional government, because the center of it is self-delivery. This limitation is not opening from it's not operating from Norway. The center of it is self-delivery to our people. And then when we received this documentation, which I can mention to you all these documents from different constituencies.
Yes, yes.
They submitted, and also with the evidence they did. It's on that basis then we consolidated it. Then consolidating all this input from the community, then we went out to say perhaps these proposals which are coming from the community for illustration purposes, and you'll find even our report, that's why we said annexure. We said that perhaps this proposal might take this, because when it comes to the maps, you must make sure that there are guidelines. You cannot just put a line the way it was alluded here.
Those are some of the highlights from the evening review this week. We will be doing this every Friday by giving you the highlights from the show in the course of the week, so that those that might have missed out on those episodes can congregate on Friday and have a sense of what was discussed on the platform. Thank you for watching, and have a great weekend ahead.